the benefit of exchange is far greater on your part, just you being there. Do you believe this? Then God will grant more. Moving on, turning the page. You must know, as the elect and chosen of God, my LLOs, love and light operators, fellow followers of good, and reverence to the Most High, you are more than the attributal, physical, academic, collective sum of your parts. You are more. And you are of priceless value. If no one ever encouraged you, I just did. We are more than the attributal, physical, and academic collective sum of our parts. And of priceless value, where even we find ourselves, it says when we find ourselves and realize it first, then we can thrive. We got to know it ourselves. Must know this for ourselves. Then I move on to talk about another area. I'm getting closer. One of the things I want to bring up, because it's going to lead me to the next. The bulk of protection and preparedness we carry right now, has to do with, when we go visit our dentist. Don't you go prepared, because you don't want no pain, right? So you go in with your guards up. You ready, right? You don't want that, whatever, that cane, and you don't even want that. You don't want to see no needles. So you go in there with a degree of preparedness. So I'm saying the bulk of our preparedness and protection, generally speaking, involve, for some of us, we go in more prepared and protected just going to the dentist. For B, when we visit our in-laws or relatives. Yes, I did write it down. I did, because it came to me. Some of us, we go in these places with our wall up. We got the cover over our head. We put the hood up. When we go visit these in-laws and go visit our relatives, we are prepared. Yeah, I put it down. I got down here when we go to meet a new employer. Our professor the first time at a college or institution. When we're going on a job interview. We go in prepared. We've done our homework, we've done our research. I know this is general, but I'm trying to make a point here. For those things, you go in prepared, but I'm moving on. When we sit in front of some of the venues we go, the vehicles of entertainment, for entertainment or a momentary distraction, I've got down here, all of our gates are open. All of our gates are open. Because usually when you sit down to a vehicle of entertainment, I don't care if you're going to the show. You're going to the show with an expectancy. You go into the place. If you haven't bought your ticket online, you go to the canteen or whatever it's called. You get your goodies, and you sit down in that seat, and you are open. Tell me if I'm lying. Stop me when I'm lying. You sit down in that seat, and whatever movie you're looking at, your eyes are boom. And don't let somebody on the left or the right tell, and girl, and blah, 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 and, blah, and or somebody. Y'all with me? Did I lose anybody? So you go in there and you're open, your eyes, your ears, because I don't know what tickets are because I haven't bought a ticket in a while. But after you paid that fee, can I just say you kind of go in looking for your money's worth? All right, let me move on a little bit further. All of our gates and defenses have become dull when it comes to some vehicles of entertainment. I wrote down here, chopped and screwed indeed. You're going to hear indeed a couple of times. When I was growing up, I remember, I think it was a cartoon, and one of the remarks, one of the characters he used to say, indubitably. A song along those lines. So when I heard indeed, I kind of like that. So you'll hear that a couple of times before I'm finished, and I'm like almost at the halfway point. Being open leaves dark forces salivating. Being open, having these gates open, your eye gates, your ear gates, your nose gates, your mouth gates. Huh? Being open leaves dark forces salivating, looking to penetrate and isolate with the ultimate goal of total domination. Are you aware? Every area of life. But to note, entertainment is the key. They, the dark forces, the antagonists, the enemy of our souls, are currently using these vehicles to gain access. What's the subject? Infiltrate. And then I wrote down, how funny, infiltration indeed. And then I've got down in parentheses, now are we entertained? And then I go on to say next, winter is coming. Anybody watch Game of Thrones? Winter's coming. Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I submit that the entire entertainment industry, which includes film, which includes music, which includes gaming, which includes theater and literature, and the vast other options which are available through the World Wide Web. Now, mind you, I know that some of the venues I speak of, you don't have to go online to do it. But it's so quick and so convenient by way of smartphone and other devices to use these vehicles as distractions. Let me read a little bit more. These film, music, gaming, theater, literature, or the like are under constant attack by invisible forces of the supernatural sort. The forces I speak of operate through unsuspecting and at times willing hosts or participants. For me, I call them pawns. Let's call this warfare tactics, taking place as efforts to reach multitudes of people at once. Do y'all know the impact and reach of the internet? Look, all around the world. Some reach might be slower than others or stagnated because of the powers that be don't want information to come in or get out, but yes, censorship, exactly. To reach multitudes of people at once, to attack our social, emotional stability. I've got down here for an example, to call into question our beliefs and spirituality and even our occupations. I'm moving on. A lot of damage is being done behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. It says, before society can even experience the finished product that they look at as entertainment or pastimes. The options we currently enjoy, as I said, film, music, gaming, and what's available on the web, such as social sites and much more, are indulgences, distractions, as well as simple information. It's available, yes. In an effort to test the boundaries of artistic freedom, some of the offerings available for entertainment delve into areas that have become more disjointed, dark, dystopian, delusional, and brings the frequent customer, consumer, brings the frequent consumer of the options named closer to dysfunction, potentially yielding to the whelms parlayed by these dark forces. I'm turning the page. Anything on the back? No. I got down here, why came to me? And just those few things I just mentioned has brought why it hit my psyche in the first place. Why did it come to me? Why did the universe want to be aware about this to speak on it? Why? To bring this up at this point, I hear the song, All I Do Is Win, echoing in the background. Hands go up, and they stay there, stay there, stay there. Again, for the record, those participating pawns, I call them, with activities such as this aren't always aware of the goals and agenda of those seeking access. Well, what are you saying, Charles? Some of the venues online, before they became venues online, there was some working going on behind the scenes, either with those, the editors or the author of those venues behind line, or those that were the powers that be that allowed those vehicles to go forth. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know the agendas. You don't know what the intent was. Let me read a little bit more. They are simply patrons of access into various industries. And then I wrote down, so the rulers of darkness can advance at will through those very vehicles that I talked about. Keep in mind, intent and with agendas. I've got PS. I know I'm jumping around a bit, but I will become clearer. It will become clearer if you hang around. Go get a drink. Let's get into it. But let me be clear. That line was PS. Then I got PSS. But let me be very clear. The warfare or the warfare tactics that I allude to is good versus evil. And the good is, and the goal is total domination and devastation, leading to judgment and destruction. But for now, all these entities or those workers of darkness or the rulers of darkness, all they want now is access to plant seeds in various industries. And then I have down here, but it's only the beginning. And then I've got down here, don't believe me? Then I've got next, then believe you. And then I've got the question, how does that make you feel? Now, at this point, I think it important to do this. I've got a disclaimer of sorts. I am not a professional at any level with no governmental or institutional support or backing. What is to follow are my general observations, not to be received as facts. It is also of my opinion that what follows could very well be certified as fact in regards to an in-depth case study or research being done with periodic follow-ups. This plan, however, could prove costly and invasive to the specific industries who are currently, right now, some of these industries out there I got down here, they're rich in legacy. They have a proven track record of success. And them ever agreeing to this type of case study or test is probably next to null or no. Even still, I wrote, I feel compelled and passionate to convey the potential threat to altering states within character traits of multitude, causing instability, causing psychological imbalance to the we, us, our, the people of the now and the generation to follow. Moving on. Highest bidder. I've got PII, personally identifying information. How are those things coming to bear? Some of those attacks, looking for access and entryways and openings to plant seeds. How are these things coming to bear? More and more information, yours, is being brought and harvested, sold to industries around the globe. I submit this information is being dissected, this information is being analyzed, and this information is being farmed off to who can benefit from it the most. That information includes something you gave. That's the thing. Information you gave. Some of your hobbies, some of your interests, Some of you guys, may or may not put down political affiliation. I've got down here favorite eats, social connections, some of your likes and dislikes, especially having to do with films and etc. This on the surface can be quite beneficial, generally speaking, but I put in whose hands? And on top of all of that, any people that you are connected to could also be affected. Again, we're talking about personal identifying information. But I also submit that invisible and dark forces with specific agendas infiltrate or interfere, interfere our entertainment options by using measured and methodical actions. These actions are ever-changing, staying viable to the times. Overt and covert agendas are being pushed through to unsuspecting hosts to accomplish their goal, being done surreptitiously or by sleight of hand, if you will. Then I have these words. Again, behind the scene, before it gets to the consumer. For example, compensating, promises made and promises kept. Let's say some organization, person, industry, or the like wants to push through an artist or a song or a specific music or to get the next virtual reality game online or AI intelligence up and going. You know what I mean. I got down here, quid pro quo indeed. Backroom dealing and negotiations to introduce the next face to run governments. That's scary. To run governments around the world. All the webs that are being weaved right in front of the screen and platforms of choice. The power that film and movies carry, streamed or no, online or no, the plethora of options that can be found via the internet or the World Wide Web, which at this point covers the entire globe. Options worldwide. Not once did I mention the politics of things or the racial side of things, but we know some of that stuff is going on online also. Or the level of sex and porn and date sites and, just points that the consumer digests. Then you've got music and games, informationals. I've got theater, movies, and film. And then off on the side I said, not just things online, but some things are offline. Huh? You can turn the channels to some things that make you raise your eyebrow. I'm going a little bit deeper. Here we go. Mood changing character shifts. Again, a part of their goal and intent and efforts. Psychic instabilities, stress, fear, drama, confusion, chaos, insecurity, shame, and various other complexities may arise. I've got also trauma-driven triggers. Trauma-driven triggers. They don't know anything about you. They're just presenting an offering. This is what we got. You paid. This is what we You paid. This is what we got. And we'll leave you with this. And you got to go and deal with whatever came up because of what you just consumed. In general, altered states of reality because of nefarious goals and agendas, I call it the Endora syndrome. You heard me just talk about Bewitched. I don't want to badmouth Bewitched. I used to watch Bewitched. Even though I said it is is it art imitating life? I don't know, but I used to watch Bewitched. But for me, I think about it on the surface. Was it a form of grooming? I don't know. You know, to soften what witchdom is all about, or what warlockism is all about, or whatever the proper word is, and what magic is all about, and what spells are all about. That was kind of introductory, and they kept it light. They kept it whimsical, didn't they? Those that saw Bewitched. I've got down here, principalities, powers, the rulers of darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. These are some of the things that are going on behind the scenes that we eat up every day. We eat it up. We eat it up. I got the naive, the misinformed, the youth, those ill-experienced, and dealing with various traumas. And then I got again, Generation Z and Generation Alpha are all at risk. Moving on. I've got here, identify. Know your opponent, know your enemy, know your foe. Whether film, movie, games, or music, the main thing, you need to know what's going on. Who's the antagonist or protagonist? What is the plot all about? Is there a bridge? Is there a theme you need to be aware of? What are the potentials? It says, be cognizant of the main thing or the main event. How is it meant to affect you or infect you? Or can it be relied upon to be simply and genuinely bona fide entertainment? When was the last time? I know I'm talking about film a lot, but I ain't leaving out the rest of them. I'm coming. I ain't leaving out the rest. Because we got film, we got games, we got theater, we got literature. And the reason why I named literature and film, a lot of those become movies. Did y'all know that? Okay, moving on. So, music, yes. But I've got, when was the last time that you sat down to a bona fide, genuinely on the surface, you get up and say, that was good. That was good. I mean, even and I'm Roger Ebert, I am not, or those like him. But after I've seen quality, and Renee will let you know somewhere down the line that I am big on foreign movies with subtitles. I love those. I'll do black and I love black. I used to love Jackie Gleason and the Family Classic, and I love that. But when was the last time you saw a quality? I mean, you know, it wasn't too much of this, and it wasn't too much of that. And you can say it was good, and what I was getting ready to say is I finished films, and I looked for the rating button, because I wanted to tag it, you know, not just for myself, to let those that put it online know that, that was good. Mm-hmm. But I wrote down also, regarding films, are there any interrelated sequences you need to be aware of? Are there any plots to decipher or to make clear, or are they already concise? Should time be taken to elucidate or interpret before engaging whatever it is that you're about to watch? Sometimes I'll go online and I'll look up the film. I'll go to maybe Rotten Tomatoes. They got various nowadays where you can look and kind of see what you're about to get into just to know. Sometimes people just don't care. They just get into it and then they wish they hadn't saw what they saw.
Because you can't unsee it.
Because you can't unsee it. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Are we getting to the place where legislation is required to install special designations? Maybe a little bit better, I'll say, or more specific. For spiritual, or special spiritual esoteric warnings along with other general warnings. And then I got the word model again. Model for me is M.O.D.E.L, meaning mysticism or occultism, divination, entities, or lore. I have it down here, are there any esoteric correlations in what you're viewing? Are there any spiritual overtones or interludes or including similarities, or even, I've got down here, comedic jest or comedy that you need to be aware of? Are there agendas to push a point of view or an artist's perspective or an editor's perspective? We must become the more aware of what's being pushed out into the ethers as commonplace and what's being said as acceptable and normal. And I got here off to the side, cartoons are not exempt. Hear me what I say. Animation is not exempt. Because society at large says these things we're saying, they're the status quo, or just the next big thing. And then I go on to say, the eye in the heavens want to convey certain venues at present could potentially exacerbate or levy unexpected challenges to what could be expected or otherwise expected to be simple. A simple night out example, or night in. You know, what was that? Netflix and for entertainment, or no. And then I've got off to the side. I'll read that again. The eye in the heavens want to convey certain venues at present could potentially exacerbate or levy unexpected challenges to what can be expected or otherwise expected to be as simple entertainment, or no. And then I've got off to the side. Simple no more. No simpletons here. That's what I have down here. But anyway. And then those that follow us, if you go online, you'll probably see the little muse that I made. I made a muse that has kind of a Cupid type character holding a horn. You know, just like I'm doing now. I'm heralding the warning, the APB, the BOLO, the be on the lookout for. In his other hand, he has a slingshot. I'll let y'all play with that one. He has a slingshot, and he hovers just above the tip of the sword for me declaring truth and clarity. And then down below, you have two flat feathers, one light and then one dark. Then on the other side, you've got a gaming device, more like a gamer control. And then you've got symbols of film, symbols of theater. And then you've got the World Wide Web, similar to with I think the two globes on top of each other. It seems like I'm missing something. And then you've got the musical clap to represent music. The reason why I designed that is many of the videos that I've come up with, I'll say we, Hype Central. Many of the videos, actually, yeah, it's up in that corner there, but it's also on our website. The reason why I did that is I personified what I felt, because every time I did a video, I felt like that I was the Psalter. I love the book of Psalms, and if you look it up, you know, the way that maybe I'm using it now, it's probably a little bit different from the norm, but for me, that's what it represents. It's kind of a Psalter for me, the Psalter. And I created that muse, to represent what's under attack during this time and season. In addition to how I often use the word, what I call the Psalter Speaks, and I do volume 1, volume 2. So those that follow my videos, you'll see that in the lower right-hand corner somewhere, along with the title that I'm hearing in my ear as I'm listening to the different tunes. Let me move on a little bit further. So that's what I was talking about later down here. It says the character, the avatar or muse that I just talked about represents the Psalter in a whimsical form, making us aware we are not alone, and watchers want to protect us from being puppeteered, protect us from being manipulated, protect us from being potentially lorded over. Subjugated no more. That was a message that we had early on in the history of Hype Central. Subjugated no more through hidden agendas or undertones. The monitoring of this begins with you, though. In the simplest form, we have an innate or inner monitor when something begins to feel off and no longer acceptable. But I got at the bottom of the page, but we must acknowledge it. I'm about to get more specific in a minute. But you must be willing to become more aware. Listen, take note of the changes in medium and media offerings. We have a generation behind us and in front of us who at times betray maturity. I'm going to say that one again. We have a generation in front of us and behind us think they got it all. They portray maturity. They seem more advanced, or at least that's what they'd like you to think they are. And at times, maybe they do when you see them grab devices the way they navigate them so easily and so quickly. But I want to convey what was good for the goose isn't necessarily good for the gander. I also wrote off to the side, no more winking at this. No more winking at this. Judgment is going to be passed if we don't take our place. And when it comes to the children, I wrote down, when it comes to the children, I can hear my mom saying, God gonna get us. If we don't herald the APB, if we don't herald BOLOs to let them know the potential of what's out there. I already said earlier that the internet is a loaded weapon. It's loaded. And what did I say? Kura, keep out of the reach of children. My virtual and whimsical depiction covers areas of theater, games, video, virtual, augmented realities, films, movies, music, and the like, and the vast amount of information. Some of it good, some of it use caution. And then on top of it, I got down here, so readily available. With the stroke of a finger, with the movement of a mouse. Back in the day, they had the glasses. With the glint of one's eye, you can be off into some stuff, like Renee just said. Once you see it, you can't take it back. Those of baser thought, I got down here, World Wide Web Internet, a weapon in the hands of those of baser thought. Everything I now speak of, the hope is not preaching to the choir. You know, sometimes I used to, sometimes when we powwow with our friends and the job and, the barbershop type experience or salon type experience, you talk about things that you wouldn't talk about anywhere else. This thing that I'm talking about now, somebody out there that's listening to this is probably saying, you're right. Amen. You're so right. You got their number. Everything I now speak of, the hope is not preaching to the choir for an amen, but that real change or awareness is pursued. Now, just like I heard it, because some people say, you don't talk that way, but I wrote down what I heard. Commonplace news. We hear often, corporate malfeasance. I actually heard that word, and that's what I wrote down. Corporate malfeasance. We hear often on the news political chaos and drama spoken about more often than not. We've got, some things is discussed online and on the news outlets, various outlets. And some of the things occurring, what did I got? On some of these platforms are quite horrendous, destructive to societies at large, and damaging, and at times inhumane. Again, business and politics, local and government, are often discussed. But when it comes to other forms of, let's say, entertainment, sometimes, for example, backroom negotiations or hardline agendas are unbeknownst to the unseen consumer. And their agendas and intents have crept in unawares. I've wrote down here, Trojan horse indeed, subliminally, unawares, surreptitiously, as well as subliminally. All these activities are being done through entertainment vehicles, again, such as movies, films, theater, music, video, gaming, industry, and a plethora of information that can be found online. But also, by intent or agenda, there's misinformation online, deflections online, hidden agenda, spells, wordplay, entities threaten mental stability. Then I got down at the line, can be overshadowed due to areas already such as dark underbelly. Creators for the world. Let me see. The World Wide Web is such a beautiful creation for the world. But the potential can far outweigh or overshadow due to these dark forces or the dark underbelly that exists on the World Wide Web. These dark forces can cause things conveyed or seen or taken in to be treacherous, or even deadly to the naive, to the unaware, to those apt to be hoodwinked or taken advantage of. These things are prevalent. Now that brings me again to the LLOs. The love and light workers of the world, the called, the chosen, the elect, those on the path of good and rightness or righteousness, dharma indeed. I believe that you have been strategically advanced around the world. Towns, countries, islands, municipalities, jurisdiction, towns, and even, yes, work. Some of you work. You got government offices that you work in at all levels. Some of you are with law enforcement. Some of you are part of Amazon, Google, and the like. Facebook, Some of you are part of the movie industry. I got down here off to the side, Tyler Studios. I just put it down. Theater, television. Some of you work around actors or have worked around actors. Some of you know about the gaming industry. There's so many levels of that billion-dollar gaming industry. And yes, the corporate businesses and the like. You, us, me, we are being issued this APB, this All Points Bulletin, this BOLO. Be on the lookout for. That they could potentially bring harm to a already overstressed, overpressured, and under consistent duress society. You help to make up this world of committed people. You, the LLO. You, the elect. You, the chosen. You, the called. Because those of us are in collaboration with the universe. We are also responsible for what's released out into humanity. The universe is going to hold some of us responsible. Y'all see some things coming. I ain't saying nothing. And if you are, good for you and good on you and the blessings of God with you. But then some of us, no, they need that now. Nah, I went that route. They need to feel it. Nah, they got to. You know what I was thinking of as I wrote this? Until a person, for me, again, this is me, this is outside of what I was getting written down. Until a person can say these words, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. For me, I don't believe a person has really lived. Because if you really live life the way life comes to us, there's certain things that you experience, Renee, there are certain things that you experience that for me, if there's any inkling of love in your life, you would agree with me and say, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. That was just a sidebar. Let me move on. You are in collaboration with the universe. You are also responsible for what's released into humanity. And then I have the question, are you willing? Are you aware of this responsibility? The eye in the sky. I've got divine, God, yes, eye in the sky. But you are needed too. Then I've got, we used to hear on the CTA line and the L train in Chicago, if you see something, say something. 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 Infiltrate. Moving on. Movies. They say, why don't you get off the movies? Let me finish. Some of the things we see in movies, you got ghosts, you got portrayals of demons and vampires and werewolves and ghouls, or either a demon-like being, monstrous, humankind. You got all type of representations of the devil, witches and warlocks and monsters and extraterrestrials. Dystopian, world dystopian I got. Serial killers, cannibalism, cults, dark magic, Satanism, the macabre, gore, torture, grave diggers, grave robbers. These are some of the things that are taking place in some of the movies that are online. I'm almost finished, y'all. Almost finished. Principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness in high places. Generally speaking. Then you talk about government. Government in place for a reason. That's why we should have respect unto those in government. Doesn't matter the party or affiliation. There should be respect given to those that run our government. Let me move on. I talked about the film industry, the movie industry, theater, and such and such. There are some safety codes out there in the making. You got the RIAA that has guidelines having to do with music. You got the ESRB that has to do with guidelines in the area of video games. You got the MPA that has guidelines having to do with areas of motion pictures and the film industry. And these areas, some aspects of coverage, some of the components of coverage have to do with violence, language, substance, nudity, horror, or the like. And then I do a little bit talking about the music. Did I miss a page? One of the things I want to bring up about movies. What are the dark undertones having to do with some of the movies, film, music, even games? Let's start with some of the games. You got some areas having to deal with theology, mythology, folklores in film, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the films just in a few minutes. But some of the things having to do with movies. You got the type of music selections. You got traditional, customary, tribal type music. You got certain tones that are being used, certain bass lines that are being used. In other words, you got some music in some of these vehicles, these entertainment vehicles that have been treated. And they have been treated for a purpose. You've got word witchery taking place, whether in songs. Word witchery includes spells, incantations, potions, and the like. You've got lights. Sometimes lights and music work hand in hand. If you didn't know that, I'm telling you now. I got it, and I'm giving it. And you can't say you never heard it before. Sometimes certain flashes, that's why some movies they come up with, they give you the warning that they're going to be flashes and such. I've seen movies where lights and music have been used to get people in a certain frame of mind, a certain motive. It can be used to control an individual's thought patterns and abilities and what they accept, that type of thing. Lights can be used for that. And I'm telling y'all that some of these things are taking place in some of the movies that we're watching. Subliminal activity is still taking place. You got frequency work being done. Some music taking place, they know music at certain frequencies, what they can do for you, concerning you, against you, to get you to do certain things. They know that. The industry knows that. You've got hypnotic activities taking place. Again, sleight of hand. You've got trauma-based triggers that are in place. And supernatural activity as well as entities. What I wrote off to the side. And on top of all of that, this is what I wrote off to the side concerning movies and film. I already talked about when you go looking for something, so you're open. And that's what I want to repeat again. Some of these things that we go to, these venues, I don't care if it's, what do they call those things when the artists have, these big venues? What do they call the concert? When they go to these big, music concerts and all of that. Some of these events you go to, you go and looking for something, so you're open yourself up. But one of the things I want to convey is this. What was your current state when you went to those things? Were you angry? Was there some traffic issues along the way? You had it out with someone? Some of those things open up your gates, allowing different stuff to come in a little more easy. Are you dealing with hurt? You go into these things I just talked about, movies, listening to certain music. Are you dealing with loneliness, anxiousness? How about this one? This is one for me. And Renee, she yarns on this point. Sometimes we go to these events and we're tired. Do you not know when you're fatigued and tired, the very guards you had up when you went to the dentist, they're not up. They're not up. And then finally, sometimes when you go to these venues, I'm just going to ask the question. Were you under, let's say, the influence of any particulars? Okay, I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I submit that although the scientific community has difficulty correlating the potential psychological effects and altering character traits that some of these entertainment vehicles cause or bring about, I've got here, even though some of these things are apparent in the lives of many. How many times have we heard on the news, instances of troubled individuals, something triggered them and caused them to do this and caused them to do that. Mm-hmm. We don't know what's going on personally. And then what broke the camel's back, if you'll allow me to say that, what took it over the top was the next song. Because that song brought back a memory, was the next film. Yeah. For example, I'm just using these as an example. And I'll be the first. That is a pastime. A movie, a part of grounding, music. Right. Come on. And the very ones in the scientific community, you heard me say earlier, some of those very ones are doing this, knocking on wood when they're talking about something, because they don't want bad luck to come their way. The scientific community knocking on wood, and yet, they have doubts about supernatural happenings. Come on now, come on. Let me move on. It says, but they stall to consider the areas that are simply unexplainable, superstitious. Pseudoscience is what they call it. They'll go as far as to say, supernatural. But the hard line, pro and con concerning it, they won't do. I also submit there are those who undergird the entertainment industry that are fully aware of the power to move and to sway people and to determine specific outcomes based on entertainment vehicles. And it just so happened these vehicles are available to billions of people. And then and what is seen at plays and theaters. Like I said, sometimes those things are turned into film or movies. Whether watched on television screens, CPU, smartphone, tablet, and the like, or online, what is listened to by way of concert venues, listened to on the radio or satellite radio, what plots and plays are available online, virtual augmented play when it comes to video games and the internet play. And then I got, again, types of play. Types of threats. Like I already spoke about, you got word witchery. You got incantations. You got a strategic grouping of words. Some of y'all better listen to them songs. You start to slow them down, or they play them backwards. Some of these things you've heard before. But I'm telling you, on whatever this date is, that some of that stuff has not stopped. It's still in play. And I want to believe that we're given to talk about it now, because there's more coming down the pipe. We don't know what's going on these major sites. I'm trying to keep from naming specific ones because we don't want people saying, you said this and about that. That's why I did the disclaimer in the beginning. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. The universe is concerned about you. The Lord God is concerned about you. Source is concerned about you. And I'm just being a mouthpiece letting you know that these things are still going on. Especially introduced in particular in film, theater, music, video games, and even words as simple as, you got to be careful when we're watching some of these movies and how these words cause triggers or put something on your mind. You got somebody in the movie saying hocus pocus or abracadabra or dippity-doo or dippity-dum. The frequency and time placement of music and the lights flashing together, working hand in hand. Bass lines in music, which could be cultural in theme or nature. I'm thinking tribal bass lines, traditional sounds, ceremonial cues, traditional ceremonial rhythms. You don't know what's being conjured up doing some of this stuff if you're not taking care and using caution. Okay. Have you ever seen a particular scene or scenes in a movie or the entire offering of that movie and heard a song and it brought a sense of ear? Not just in a movie, just maybe a song by itself. Have you ever heard a song and you go, what in the world? These are the things I'm speaking on. I want you to be aware. And if you see something, say something. Because we don't know what the underlines, we don't know what's going on beneath all of that. You ever play a video game whose characters were dark and mythical? And when the play was over, something about you felt a little different. I'm just talking, am I talking to you or am I talking to myself? Let me move a little bit further. You ever fall asleep in the process of playing said game? Some of y'all fell asleep playing them games because you've been on them so long, you start dreaming, you're in it. And some of them entities that you were fighting off, warding off, they're after you. Speaking of falling asleep on TV, you ever wake up in the middle of some of the darkest scenes, watching your television program? You woke up and somebody's head is getting cut off, or somebody getting whacked, or just know in some of these movies, one of the most erotic scenes. Just all of you wake up and you're in the middle of. Am I talking to y'all or am I just talking to myself? Even the options available on the World Wide Web covering every topic you can think of and in depth. It is of the utmost concern. Be on the lookout for. It's an all points bulletin of they, them, and those who have of they, them, and those who have intently made efforts to infiltrate the hearts and minds, will, and emotions using vehicles of access. I have this song for you. My last page, y'all, and I thank you for being patient. This is a song, and I heard this song in a long time, Renee. This is what I heard after I was given these words. I hope something I said resonated. I hope something I said put something on your mind. Remember I said in the beginning when I first started off, I heard the songs, All We Do Is Win. For me, that was a mockery. The unseen realm, jokingly, in the backdrop of what I was being given. That's what I felt was being taken place. But then I heard this song to close it out. Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom all over this land. But Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. Then I will repeat. Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom all over this land. But Satan, we're going to tear your kingdom down. And then I wrote, don't believe me, then believe you. And the reason why I kept saying that throughout all of this is whether you believe me or no, when that song comes across, when that movie comes across, when those dark scenarios come across, whether you believe me today or not, you're going to believe you because of what your gauges begin to tell you. Sidebar. Gut feeling is important. Utilize it and become aware. Intuition is important. Utilize it and become aware. Those internal nudges that you get are important. Utilize it and become aware. Your sensitivity to foolery is important. Utilize it and become aware. Use it all. Liberate those internal senses. It gets better with use, just like fine wine. You see something, say something. Talk to the Most High, the universe. They are already on it. That's all I got. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for your patience. And as I said, I hope something that was said that you can use. Bolo, be on the lookout. All points willing. Thank you.